Welcome to the Plant-Free MD podcast with Dr. Anthony Chaffee, where we discuss diet and nutrition and how this affects health and chronic disease, and show you how you can use this to optimize your health and happiness, both mentally and physically. All right, thank you everybody for joining me for another episode of the Plant-Free MD podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Anthony Chaffee, and today I have a special return guest, Dr. Nash Jocic, who is coming back to tell us about optimal training techniques for peak fitness and physique. Dr. Jocic, thank you so much for coming back.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me with you and giving me an opportunity to talk to your audience. Mm-hmm. It is my great pleasure.
Absolutely. So for people that have seen the last video, they know who you are, but for people that are just seeing you for the first time, can you give us a bit of an idea of who you are and what you do?
So regarding my qualifications, I have studied philosophy. I have a PhD in philosophy, but at the same time, I did a lot of research on my own accord and studies in the fields of anatomy, physiology, biomechanics, nutrition, and that has helped me to actually achieve all these results in sport as I did. I competed 46 times. I won 17 titles in bodybuilding, and I've been in bodybuilding for over 40 years. And during that period, I coached personally over 3,000 clients and helped them to get in fantastic shape. And on top of that, I published 10 books covering all the subjects of nutrition, training, hypertrophy, muscle growth, lifestyle change, training for beginners, and similar topics. So, yes, I also have a YouTube channel, Dr. Nash Jocic, and I talk primarily about optimization of muscle growth and fat loss. So this is my primary interest in my YouTube channel, and I think this is the reason why we are here today.
There you go. So absolutely. And so last time we focused a lot on the nutrition side of things. For people that don't know, Dr. Jocic has been predominantly animal-based, even pretty much carnivore diet for the last 20 years plus, and has trained with some of the legends in bodybuilding like Serge Nubret and those who have quite animal-based diet, even leading up to the competitions, pretty much a pure carnivore diet of just meat, 6 pounds of horse meat a day in Serge's case, and had fantastic results. So if people want to watch that video and learn about the nutrition side of things, please just check that out. I'll put the link in the description as well. Today we're talking about the different training styles. There's so many different training styles, and people ask me this all the time because there's so many athletes that are coming to this, or people that want to become athletes, and they want to know what are the optimal training programs and regimens, especially for someone on a carnivore diet where you have really big recovery, you do have a great physiological return on your work. There's so many different theories on a lot of rest between sets, really high intensity, shorter rest, high volume, more reps, more sets, or the complete opposite, the popular sort of Mike Mentzer sort of idea of you just work out, once every January, and then, you do and then and let your body rest completely and then come back to it again sometime later in the future. What is your opinion on some of the best techniques, sort of the broad strokes techniques on approaches to working out for optimal muscle growth hypertrophy?
All right, it's a great question, very much debated and controversial. Again, when I talk about anything regarding bodybuilding, I'm talking about optimal muscle growth and fat loss. So I want people to really do their best and achieve their best, because I see life as an opportunity to be out there and do whatever you do, the best that you can do. Apart from that, I don't really understand if there is anything else. Mm-hmm. Having said that, when I talk about the most effective training system, I have in mind not just my own experience. I have in mind the experience of thousands of my clients, and also experience of countless number of professional bodybuilders from 70s till now. So as you know, I have a very good opinion about many things that have happened in 70s, especially diet. When it comes to training, I like the volume, but not necessarily everything was perfect in 70s. People trained muscles 2-3 times per week. But when I say people, I'm not talking about everybody. I'm talking about top bodybuilders. I'm talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger, Serge Nubre. I'm talking about Sergio Oliva. People like that, they train muscle twice per week, every muscle, sometimes three times per week. But that 3 times per week was usually a few weeks before the show. Twice per week was some part of the off season, but most of the off season would still be once per week. Don't forget that all of them were on steroids. So steroids are there to help you recover faster. Therefore, you can start training again more often. So training twice per week, which I have done as well, is not a problem, but it's not sustainable. It cannot last forever. It cannot be year round. This is my experience. I will explain why. So this is the issue, the problem that we are facing when people start comparing my advice, which is the best training system for you to optimize your muscle growth is to train every muscle once per week. Okay. As I said, it comes from my own experience, and it comes from experience of thousands of my clients. Hundreds of them are competitive bodybuilders, and the best results they all had when they train muscle once per week, year round. Now, when it comes before the show, I used to train twice per week, but that would never be more than 6 to 8 weeks before the show. After that, I would feel drained, shattered, exhausted, and it would take me maybe 2 weeks to really start feeling normal again when it comes to training, recovery, sleeping, etc. Now, the question is, why is that? Would I do that again? No, I wouldn't. The reason why I did it is that I didn't know better. So my last show was in 1995. My 46th show, which I won in Leicester. So the problem with training twice per day, there are few, but the main issue comes from the stigma that muscle recovers within 48 to 72 hours. Therefore, you can train muscle again. That may be true, not necessarily, but may be true. But also what is true is that connective tissues like tendons and ligaments, they recover longer to recover. They need up to 5 days to recover. So these are facts. So when you're performing biceps curls, you're not only training biceps muscle, biceps brachii, you're also training all connective tissues involved in that movement, the whole unit of tissues. Now, if you train that muscle in 3 days' time, yes, muscle may have recovered, but tendons didn't. And this is, for example, what happened to you, what you mentioned in the previous video, when you had that shoulder or chest problem, your connective tissue didn't recover. So if you don't recover your connective tissue, you should not be entering the same experience again and repeating the same training for the same muscle again. You need full recovery. Now, when you exercise the muscle, you break down tissue. So you have you enter the catabolic state, which lasts up to 3 days. Then that muscle recovers, but also you need to wait for connective tissue to recover another 2 days. Now, when it comes to supercompensation or remodeling, which is building new muscle, building extra tissue in order to survive next training, next stress easier, it will take another 2 days. So even if you train the muscle every 5 days, you will never enter that period of supercompensation. You need to allow that muscle to grow as well as to recover. The best example for that supercompensation are our blisters. We have blisters because the body supercompensates, builds more tissue there in order to survive gripping under resistance and fracture damage of this tissue, skin. So it builds more tissue. The same it does to the muscle. But now you need at least 7 days, sometimes even more. I'm not religious, so number 7 doesn't mean anything to me. Lucky number, no. But from the praxis, from the experience, we know that within 7 days, you have full muscle recovery, full connective tissue recovery of a particular muscle group, and also full super compensation. These are physiological reasons for benefits of single workout per week. Now, there are a lot of so-called experts who are coming and say, oh, the studies have shown if you train muscle twice per week is much better, but you don't need to do, you're asking for too many sets. You're saying 20, 25, but if you do 10 each session, I mean, another nonsense, right? This is the same as saying to you, all right, why would you have 6 eggs for breakfast? Why don't you have 3 and then have 3 in half an hour? It doesn't work like that. You need a full meal. You need a full training session. You can't cut the session in pieces, is arbitrary amount of sets in order to hit that muscle again and again. First of all, because if you do that right, you can't recover the muscle, you can't recover the tissues, you're not going to overcompensate, you don't do it. This is one reason. Another one, if you cut your number of sets to half, that training session is not going to be effective. So we're not talking about optimized muscle growth. We are talking about having some nice time in the gym, maybe socializing, doing a few photos for Instagram. Fantastic. You can train muscle every day. If you don't train it with full intensity, you can train it every day, not twice per week. Why not 3 times per week? You can train every muscle every day. People are doing that. People are coming and say, well, I'm training full body 4 or 5 times a week. Amazing. It's better than nothing. But show me your pictures. Oh, many experts, so-called experts, which are dominating YouTube, unfortunately, have never shown their pictures. You never seen their shape. Most of them are out of shape. Some of them are so skinny they cover their bodies, especially legs, all the time. And they are the ones who are actually teaching people about how to train legs. So show us your legs. I show my legs all the time, so I can talk about it. But no, they do this with training in track bottoms all the time. So basically, you can't just fulfill some fantastic concepts of new training system just in order to invent them. If you do muscle correctly, if you train exact number of sets that I'm recommending, a number of reps, and volume, there is no way that you're going to train that muscle again within 7 days. So many people that I've coached try that, and they're coming to the same conclusion, and they're growing, right? They're changing. You can see them on my website. I change people. So I'm just telling you for your best outcome, the training muscle once per week fully, meaning with high intensity, high volume, and enough reps, is fundamental for your muscle growth. Now we can talk about intensity, we can talk about time under tension, we can talk about mechanical tension. These are different subjects, but they're also necessary to understand in order to complete high-intensity workout, without which you will never grow any muscle. And if you don't train with high intensity, again, I will repeat, you can train every muscle 2-3 times per week, maybe even every day. So, but not much is going to happen.
Mm. Yeah, well, that was sort of what I was wondering as well. I remember hearing that when in the 90s when I was growing up and hearing about this and saying that was sort of the thing, you maybe just really go after a muscle group once a week, and people were getting much better results with that. But I think, but that was the question I had, was that, but that's assuming that you're really going after it and really intensely hitting that muscle group. Is that correct?
Absolutely. You know that I don't really agree with everything that happened in 90s. As I mentioned in the previous video, especially diet and bubble guts and, the big sections and mass monsters and all that. So, but the best thing that they have changed in 90s was training system. And I believe that they improved a lot dramatically just because of that, just because of training muscle once per week. Everybody did it, or at least 99% of people did it. I remember Kevin Lavron didn't do it. He was training muscle twice per week. Ronnie Coleman was training muscle twice per week. And you help me if you remember, but I can't remember anybody else. But there is an overwhelming majority of other people who were training every muscle just once per week with fantastic, phenomenal results. 90s have invented it. They came to that understanding that you have to really go for that muscle, take the maximum out of it, and then leave that muscle to recover, leave connective tissues to recover, allow for supercompensation, and then hit the muscle again. The best way to understand that you're doing right is when you're approaching your next, for example, chest session. So you've done chest on Monday, comes next Monday, and on Sunday, you cannot wait to go to the gym, and you are full of enthusiasm and optimism and motivation and focus, and you're literally getting pumped just driving to the gym. That means you're doing things right. Now, if you go to the gym to do chest again 3 days later, after you've done it, and you feel a bit tired and you're thinking about whatever else, and your chest is still a bit sore, but you have to do it. Hard work will pay. No hard work, right work, intelligent work. So this is not good. You're not in a good world. You shouldn't be doing anything because your chest didn't recover. Your nervous system didn't recover with that particular area. So you basically need to readjust yourself. You need to be happy to enter the gym. When I go to train anything, today I'm going to be doing legs. I already feel them like, crying for it. But they had 1 week. And when I hit them, they're going to be begging me for rest for all 7 days. There is no way I can do legs today, on Tuesday, and then again on Friday. Forget about it. I mean, that will be, I would feel it immediately in my tendons and my connective tissues, in my joints, everywhere. So you don't do it. But if I do only 3 epoxy sets of squats and 2 sets of leg press, then I can do them every other day, as I mentioned. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about optimal development of muscle growth. I'm talking about 100% development. So if you are interested in that, then this advice is for you. And this applies to majority of people. I know there will always be people there who say, oh, I'm doing much better when I do every 5 days. Fine, great. Enjoy your training and I hope you grow. But these people are exceptions. Serge Nubret was an exception. Arnold was an exception. We may argue now, and I may agree with that both of them, Arnold and Nubret, would be bigger if they train muscle less often. If they did muscle once a week, both of them would be bigger. Nubret was only 90 kgs. Don't forget about that. 90 to 95 kgs on the stage. Oh. And that's not much. I competed with 102. He was 102 in the off season. So he managed to achieve that phenomenal shape and the phenomenal conditioning, and that made him so impressive on the stage. But he wasn't that big. Arnold was 105 and he's 185. So that's not much weight. And I think one of the reasons, regardless of steroids, regardless of all these exogenous compounds, one of the reasons was that they did not allow that super compensation to go all out 100%. Now in 90s, people started doing that, and most of them ended up training muscle once per week, allowing full recovery and super compensation.
Okay, interesting. And then, so like someone like Ronnie Coleman be an exception to that, or was he? You think he probably would have been better off doing it once a week as well?
Ronnie Coleman was one of a kind. He's an extreme
machine
specimen, yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know why he was using such a heavy weights. He didn't have to because he had such a superior genetics, and he trained muscles more often than once per week. But this was Ronnie Coleman. Again, as I mentioned, we are not just physical entities; we are also intellectual and spiritual entities. So this was the way that made him happy. One has to be happy to do things right. This was his way. But how many people did it like him? Nobody. Nobody else did. If you just research and you find out, you will see that all professional bodybuilders, when we say that word professional bodybuilders, we forget often that these are actually people who make their living out of bodybuilding. So they would not do mistakes. They will do everything right. And if 99% of them do something and have something in common, then we can start talking about a principle. And they're all training every muscle once per week. Yeah. So, when Lee Haney says sarcastically in an interview, Oh, now they have shoulders day, triceps day, this day. Oh, we were doing that together.
Mm,
Yes, but that wasn't necessarily the best for most of us. Maybe it was good for you. Maybe Dorian Yates' training system was good for him, but not for most of the people. But I'm talking about most of the people.
mm,
So whoever is listening to this, bear this in mind. I'm talking to most of the people. Exceptions will always be there, but as the name suggests, they are not the rule. So most of us are within the rule. I'm not Ronnie Coleman. I'm not Serge Nubre. I talk about him doing 40 sets bench press. I was watching, he was doing in front of me. I never did 40 sets of bench press in my life. I never did 40 sets for any muscle group. The most I've done was 30 sets, but that's me. I saw it, I took it as an option, and I adapted to that option, and it worked for me. But I never said to anybody, "Oh, you should train like Serge Nubret." I even have the video. Should you train like Serge Nubret? Because so many people asked me, "Oh, you're saying 40 sets. There is no way I can do it for." I never said you should do it. I'm just saying listen to what the man did and use it as guidance to increase your number of sets. You're never going to get to 40 sets. I never did. You
mm.
don't have to. But don't take exception for a rule. That's the thing. So there will always be people like Ronnie Coleman, but if you look across the board, most of the professional bodybuilders are training and having fantastic results, training muscle once per week. And this applies to most of us, regardless of you being natural or enhanced. This is another issue that people ask always. Oh, but that only works if you are taking steroids. So if you're not taking steroids, then you think you can train muscle twice per week. So
Mm,
what single reasonable explanation for that? One, so you're going to recover faster than somebody who is taking steroids. No, you're not. You're going to
mm,
recover slower.
mm. Yeah.
So it's always that buts and ifs, but I'm not talking buts and ifs. I'm just putting principles down. And principles, as good old English say,
Mm,
has it methods are many, principles are few. Methods always change, and principles never do.
mm.
So I talk in principles, and I hope people understood what I said now.
Yeah.
So you can
Yeah.
change the methods, but you stick to the principles.
Yeah. Absolutely. You mentioned the short, we talked in the last, um, you know, previously we talked about how I had when I first went carnivore, I found that my recovery was just insane. I could do so much more volume. I wasn't getting sore. I was doing 30 plus sets of squats and wasn't sore the next day. Went and played rugby, that night and started going back into it and still wasn't sore. So I thought, okay, well, I'm going to try this. And I started doing that volume. And because I could do well over 30 sets. I sort of said, okay, I'm going to cap it at 20 sets in each particular sort of compound lift. The smaller lifts, I didn't bother doing all that much. But like I would do 20 sets of bench, I'd do 20 sets of dips. I might even do 20 sets of flies, but if I was doing it at home, I didn't really have anything that could do that properly. And then on all, I'd have the next day I'd do something else and then come back to it. So I had sort of a split. I had a 2 day split. I did full body on those 2 days. And then the second day I would do again, or do an incline bench for 20 sets and then I do 20 sets of dips and go on from there. So, or, 20 sets of squats, 20 sets of deadlift. I often did like the hex bar deadlift. I quite like that. From an athletic point of view, it's really good for sprinters. And so I do that. And I felt that I was doing really well with that, but I ran into that that issue that you were talking about with the tendons. It took a while, I mean, it took a few months, and I was actually feeling good, and I was like you were saying there, I looked forward to every workout. I was yes, get me in here. But then all of a sudden, it caught up with me, and I sat down. I tried to do the bench, and it just this pain shot through my right pec, and it was like, oh, okay, what was that? And I just had developed, tendonitis. I'd strained the tendons, and that took a couple weeks to get through. It healed pretty quickly. I was able to work through it, and then get back. But then I sort of realized, like, oh yeah, there is a limit to this. This is this is stupid. I do need to cut it down a bit, and went back to twice a week for each muscle group, and that was certainly better. So I definitely ran face first into that one.
Yeah, you were doing definitely too much. You were burning the
Yeah.
candle from both sides. I don't know for what reason. Maybe you had reasons for that.
Just
But
wanted to
if you
try it
want,
really. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you can experiment. But if you want to really again talk about optimal muscle hypertrophy, then this is not the case. Now you need to leave that muscle to rest, to grow,
Mm-hmm.
and even the look at the horses, right? They're not chasing them every day on the truck. You need to allow them to recover and then to go again. Lions don't hunt every hour, twice every day
Yeah.
or something like that. They do like every 4 or 5 days. And look at
Mm-hmm.
them. Every natural being needs time to recover. This is why we sleep on the end of the day. So that change of our hard impact exercise and rest is very, very important. Most of the people try to do that, to train more often in order to stay in shape, thinking, oh, if I don't train like this, I'm going to get fat. Well, you're not going to get fat if you don't eat carbohydrates, and if you are, on high protein, medium fat diet, you will never get fat. You're always going to be lean. Now, if you want to
Mm-hmm.
grow, you need to be intelligent enough to do just enough and then let it rest and let it grow, because super compensation doesn't happen physiologically before recovery is finished.
Mm-hmm.
This is how
Yeah.
it is. So we can say whatever we want to say, and regardless of enhanced or natural bodybuilders, the principle is the same. My son is natural.
Mm-hmm.
He's training 4 times per week, and he looks fantastic. He's very lean. Um, I will send you some photos of him as well, so you can see. People always saying, "Oh, but this is not for natural bodybuilders." I'm actually preparing the videos with him on natural bodybuilding, but the principles, they don't change. If you're natural and if you're training right, and I will explain what I think is right, you may need even more time to recover than enhanced bodybuilding.
Mm.
So why are enhanced bodybuilders resting 7 days for every muscle group? Are they stupid? No, they're not. They look how they look, and they still need 7 days. So you're natural now, and you want to train muscle twice per week because you want to make that muscle grow within a couple of months. If you're natural, it's going to go much slower. It's much better, much healthier. You should be proud of your results. You should be really feeling great about every single pound of muscle that you have achieved naturally. But you need to understand it will take longer. It will require more patience and also more knowledge. And when it comes to recovery, training muscle with a high level of intensity, we will require at least 1 week for that muscle to recover. And you can try and you can train twice per week, but you will never change. Send me your pictures now and in a year or two,
Mm-hmm.
and I guarantee you're going to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
People are staying the same.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
there are a lot of natural guys out there who look fantastic, but you have to understand that you have to be very, very disciplined with diet, because steroids do increase BMR, basal metabolic rate. So you may get away with, a few biscuits here and there or beer or something. But if you're natural, you have to be more disciplined and more patient. Your results will be slower, but they will be permanent, and you can continue for the rest of your life to enjoy bodybuilding and stay in fantastic shape. You don't have to take any steroids.
Yeah. Very good. Um, so then that sort of comes down to, okay, so working out one muscle group per week or each muscle group per week. What is the best way to tax that muscle group to the fullest extent? Is it the Mike Mentzer, just one big set to failure, or is it the Serge Nubret, 12 sets of 12 with very little rest, or 40 sets, and things like that, or something else entirely?
Well, good you mentioned Mike Mentzer, because Mike Mentzer was in the best shape when he won Mr. Universe in Acapulco. I believe it was 1978. And he was the only bodybuilder in history who won with a perfect score of 100.
Nice.
So respect to Mike Mentzer and his shape and his look in 1978. And 1978, Mike Mentzer trained the same like everybody else, performing 25 sets or more per major muscle group. There were eyewitnesses who spoke about Mike Mentzer and his training, like Tom Platz, Boerko, Casey Viator, Johnny Little, his biographer and friend. And they said all that Mike trained like everybody else. He would be in the gym for hours.
Hmm.
This is when Mike Mentzer was at his best in 1978. Now he started contemplating about reducing number of sets. He did reduce a little bit, and in 1978 he lost from Frank Zane, but he wasn't in the same shape as he was in 1978. Now in 1980 he further reduced number of sets, trying to experiment with his new understanding of lesser volume, and he didn't end up in good shape. And he even admitted himself that he wasn't in very good shape in 1980 when he lost. He was, I think, fifth. Now, that story of heavy duty, it's a story, it's a myth. It never worked. It was never practiced by Mike Mentzer himself. I said that in a few videos. It's the fact. People who know him, they can tell you that. He invented that simply from business purposes. It was a nice story, easy to sell, very attractive, that you can achieve amazing results training 15, 20 minutes and, maybe a couple of times per week, every muscle once in 10 days, in 2 weeks. Later on, he even claimed that all you need is one set per muscle once in a month. You see, the people were buying that because, it would fit in their lifestyles, but that never happened. I never come across anybody who did it. People say, oh, Dorian did it. Dorian didn't do that. No, Dorian was doing usually 4 sets per exercise, usually 4 to 5 exercises per muscle group, large muscle group. So that amounts to 20, 25 sets per muscle group. Yes, he claimed that only the last set was the real one. Fine. We can call it all out set or set to failure, but it wasn't the only set. So again, we have that number around 20, 25. This was obviously Arnold used to train about 25 sets per muscle, a large muscle group. Even for smaller muscle groups, he would do a lot of sets, maybe 20. And most of the bodybuilders who are training with that number of sets achieve phenomenal results from 70s up till now. The only difference is that Arnold trained muscle twice per week, and now people are training it once per week. So this is why people are recovering better and growing better. And this is the biggest change that has arrived from 90s, and the biggest positive change. So that number is also something that I responded well to, and most of my clients, 20 to 25 sets per large muscle groups like legs, chest, back. And when it comes to smaller muscle groups, I would advise anywhere from 8 to 12 or maybe 10 to 15, depending on individual.
Okay, great. And what about rest times in between? Because I know that Serge and Vince Carano, they would do very, very limited rest periods between their sets. And even Jack LaLanne would talk about how he gave a maximum 1 minute between sets, because he just basically didn't have all that much time. He had an hour a day, and then he needed to get this stuff done. When I was doing, that 40 sets of a certain muscle group, I did have a significant period of rest. I was giving myself 3-4 minutes between, and if I did that and gave myself a decent amount of rest period, I could just keep going. And sometimes I would do sort of supersets. I do bench, and then I go and do something else. I come back to bench and then go, or circuit train and sort of do something else. And so I'd be doing other things, and I'd end up working in 20 sets. I wouldn't just be sitting there necessarily the whole time, but I would be giving that muscle group some time to rest. And so, and when I did that, shorten down the rest period, it was much more challenging. I felt that was really good. I really liked that. But what do you find is the best way to approach that?
Well, the answer to that question again is not as simple, but it is found within the understanding of intensity, right? So when people talk intensity, they usually think about overload principle, meaning more weights, more intense workout. Now, bodybuilding workout intensity, in bodybuilding workout, intensity means something else. There are three major factors for muscle growth. Number one is overload principle. Number two is mechanical tension. Number three is metabolic stress. Now, all these three principles need to be fulfilled in bodybuilding training in order to cause optimal hypertrophy. Overload principle is understood, again, wrongly, because muscle becomes the means and the weight becomes the end. Therefore, people are using muscles in order to lift heavier. It should be all the way around. Muscle is the end and the weight is the means. So the right weight is the only way that you should use in order to develop muscle. Now, you should never use the muscle as the means like powerlifters do or weightlifters. They don't care about hypertrophy. Their goal is to lift the weight and the muscle is the means. Now, in bodybuilding, it's opposite. The weights are the means and the muscle growth is the end. Now, to achieve that, among other things, you need to think about the rest between the sets. As I often say, when you're talking about a workout with 25 sets, for example, you have 25 sets, and these sets, imagine them as a chain. They're all connected. Now, if you rest too long, that chain breaks. I say always that the next set should step on the tail of the previous one. Therefore, you need to rest as less as the minimum necessary time. If you rest too long, the next set is not the next set, it's the next workout. This is what happened to you. If you're resting 3-4 minutes, you can train for hours because you completely quickly recover that muscle, and you can carry on and on and on and on and on. But if you put that in a chain, if you want to make a workout, not workouts, then the rest between the sets should be necessary minimum. How much people are asking, how long? If I say, okay, for biceps is 32 seconds, Nash said 32, watch, tap. No, it doesn't work like that. For smaller muscle groups, you're going to rest less. What is the rest time? 30 to 60 seconds. You try it. 30, too short. Up it to 40, 50, 60. Oh, but it was 65. Oh my God, I did it wrong. No, it's not wrong. I'm just giving you an idea, a guidance. So no more than a minute for a small muscle group. For a larger muscle group, especially legs, you can rest up to 2 minutes. I never rest longer than 2 minutes, usually a minute. But you will need to arrive to that point, because to adapt your system, your respiratory system, your cardiovascular system, your muscular system, oxygen transportation, to adapt, you need time. You can't just go from resting 3-4 minutes and, Nash said 30 seconds, now I'm going to go. And then you collapse there and call me next day. I say, that's a nonsense. I can't do that. You need to adapt. So bear this in mind, use this principle, and don't rest too long. Resting too long, this is the powerlifting training method. If you want to keep lifting heavy in every next set, then rest 3, 4, 5 minutes. I see powerlifting training in our gym sometimes. They rest 5-10 minutes between the sets because they don't care about muscle growth. But you want to care about muscle growth. You want to put those 20 sets together so they make sense. They're called workout. They're like a chain. All these successful bodybuilders rested a short period between the sets. Sometimes some rested less, some a bit longer, but nobody was there resting forever for minutes and minutes. I did calls the other day, and the guys, I said, can I join in? He says, yes. I do a set. They said, are you going to do now? Oh, no, he says, I'm resting. Are you resting? All right. So I do 3 sets, and he does 1. I did 6, he did 2. I did 9, he did 3. Yeah, I look at his calls. There is nothing there. Of course, there is nothing there, because it's hard to, this is another thing. Short rest between the sets is one of the 3 compounds of intensity. So shorter the rest, more intense the workout, right? Heavier the weight with the same number of sets and reps, more intense the workout. And also slower the pace, especially in the negative phase, more intense the workout. So you can make your workout much more intense by using the same weights, but increasing the time and the tension, okay? And cutting the rest between the sets. And you will see how intense that will be. So this is intensity in bodybuilding. It's not just lift heavier. Lift heavier is a powerlifting game, is a weightlifting game. It has nothing to do with bodybuilding. I think most of the people right now, globally, in the gyms are somewhere in between, in some limbo. They are not power lifters because they don't look like one. You have to really be genetically gifted for that particular sport. And they're not bodybuilders, and they're trying to achieve something, I don't know what, something in the middle. It's not bodybuilding, it's not powerlifting, but it's probably good enough for Instagram shots and all that. And this is where we are. So they're wasting their time. So they either be a power lifter or be a bodybuilder. What else is there?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So that was the thing too. Obviously, high volume, low amount of rest, and I always wonder this because I never heard them talk about it. But like Surge, yourself, these sorts of things, and I sort of have an idea of the answer because I think I saw one of your titles of your videos on the subject. But when Surge was doing 40 sets of bench or a lot of this high load, was this going to failure or was this just going to a certain, how did he gauge when his set was done? If it was it to failure or to some other metric?
It was never to failure.
Okay.
And I did a video that is on my YouTube channel, which I say that training to failure is the biggest mistake in bodybuilding.
Okay.
It sounds quite harsh, isn't it? And very controversial. But I'm not talking from out of the blue. I'm talking from experience, obviously. So why do they say that? So what happens when you train to failure, right? Imagine a set of 10 reps. So you do 10 reps and you can't do 11. So basically 10 is the last one that you're struggling. This is called failure. Now, what happens when you do that? First of all, what matters is that the last 4 to 6 reps are the good quality reps that cause hypertrophy. Not just the last one, last 4 to 6. We still need to define that. We need more cyber precision science to discover, is it 4 or is it 6? But at the moment, the consensus is 4 to 6, last 4 to 6. So let's say you do 12 reps. The last rep is 12. This is failure. But 4 to 6 before that were all good quality reps that cause muscle hypertrophy. Now, when you go all out and you hit that 12 and you can't do another one, you will stress your central nervous system a lot. So next set, you won't be able to do the same number of reps. You will probably drop down to 7, 8. Again, you hit the last one. And you probably do another set on 5 or 6 and you hit the last one. So if you look at this, you've done 3 sets, right? And you won't be able to do more than 3 exercises like this. If you go all out, try and you will see. And you will complete 9, let's say 10 sets for the sake of an argument, in which you will have last 4 reps to 6 reps that count. So 10 sets times 6, you've done 60 reps that count for muscle growth, right? Now, what happens if you don't go all out? If you don't go to that last 12, maybe you stop on 10. Still, the last 4 to 6 reps will be counted as productive reps. But the difference is that you can do more sets because you didn't kill your central nervous system. So you did more sets. You can do 20 sets. When you multiply 20 by 6 or by 4 or by 5, take that one out of 20, so minus 20, you will end up with 100 productive reps comparing to 60 productive reps. The other benefit of not going to failure is that your central nervous system is fine. You didn't burn out. Okay? So you have completed more quality reps. This is the benefit of doing more sets. If you do 25 sets, even better. If you do 30, even better. So more quality reps for muscle growth rather than less. And the plus benefit, the bonus, your central nervous system is fine. You walk outside the gym, you feel great. Your
Mhm.
muscle is dead, but you are alive. If you go to failure, you will be dead and your muscles won't be dead. And this is the big difference. You've seen people finishing back or legs or chest or whatever, and they're walking like coming from the war or something,
Mhm.
hardly walking. Oh, I've done so. Why? Because you have drained your nervous system, central nervous system. You've done something which is not good for you. It will take ages for that to recover. So every next session is going to be junk volume. And this is where this all out going to failure people end up most of the time.
Mhm.
So this is why Serge Nubret never did to failure. Jay
Mhm.
Cutler, for example, another very clever bodybuilder, modern bodybuilder, never went to failure.
Mhm.
Look at Jay now. Jay looks fantastic. Jay looks in shape. He's big. He was always volume trainer, and he never went to failure. What an amazing discovery. No, he's not. Arnold never went to failure. Serge Nubret never went to failure. Sergio Oliva, one of the biggest ever, never
Mhm.
went to failure.
Yeah,
And
interesting.
countless of number of people, other people, whoever was training with high number of sets, never went to failure. So what happened to these guys? What happened to Robbie Robinson? Look at him. He's almost 80 now. Looks amazing. Still training the same. Albert Beckles, the same. Lee Haney, the same. All these people who did volume, they are still out there, still alive, no broken torn tendons, ligaments, not in the wheelchair. I mean, the message is too loud. Do not go to failure. It's too much and is not necessary.
Mhm.
It's just trying to show off in the gym, screaming, falling on the ground, showing on theater that you are some sufferer, somebody who has done so. Nobody cares about it. It's just ridiculous. Who cares what you've done? Who cares about your squats or deadlifts? Nobody cares. You're just making yourself stupid. And this is what people do everywhere, all the time. And look at them. And then look at all these legends, which are usually on the walls, not these people who are screaming on the floor. And all these legends, they never did this. Never did this. I never went on to failure. That thing to failure was another modern thing with invented by Arthur Jones and then Mike Menzer trying to fight probably some demons in their head, and people probably do the same for whatever reasons, going to failure until you really cannot hold the weight anymore and the weight drops out of your hands. Oh, amazing. You're another Conan now. So you're going to film such a story
Mhm.
of another hero who gave his life for the sake
Yeah.
of the world. No, it's not like that. No, it's not. No, that muscle that you train with right intensity requires certain stimulus, as Lee Haney said, stimulate, do not obliterate. Beautiful.
Yeah. Um, well, that definitely makes sense. I mean, is it different for, I mean, I guess if you have very good recovery and you're feeling good, like does that change the equation at all? Because when I now, granted, giving myself a lot of rest, so 3-4 minutes rest in between, I would go to failure. I felt good doing that, and I actually didn't want to leave the gym. I felt better in the gym, and I never wanted to leave the gym. And so I felt quite good with that. Um, when I tried shortening down the rest period, then yeah, I there was a point where I was maxing out and then couldn't quite get 12, and then okay, I'm doing 10, and I'm doing 8. Okay, now I'm dropping the weight and doing that sort of thing. But I still try to get to that, and I felt fantastic workouts. Is that because of, and if I was not eating this way, I would not have that recovery. I would not have that ability to do that. I've eaten other ways. I've eaten very clean, omnivorous diets, and I have absolutely not been able to do workouts like that. And I would be absolutely shattered. The way I'm eating now, I feel better the harder I work. Does that change the math at all, or is it still sort of that principle where you're going to get more out of it in the long run if you sort of don't quite go to failure. Hey guys, just want to take a second to thank our sponsor, Carnivore Bar. I don't promote many products because honestly, all you need to be healthy is to just eat meat. For those times that you're out hiking, road tripping, or stuck at work and you want a nutritious snack that is just meat, fat, and salt if you want it, the Carnivore Bar is a great option. So I like this product not because it's just pure meat, but also because I want the carnivore market to thrive as well. And the more we support meat-only products, the more meat-only products there will be available in the mainstream. So if this sounds like something you'd like to get behind, check it out using my discount code Anthony to get 10% off, which also applies to subscriptions, giving you 25% off total. All right, thanks guys.
Well, as I mentioned to you, if you do 20-25 sets, you will have many more quality reps that will help stimulate hypertrophy. Now you need to pay attention to other factors. For example, you need to pay attention to overload, which means if the weight that you're using starts becoming light, you need to add a little bit. Most of the time I use the same weight for every set. And if I do, let's say for upper body 8 to 12, I start with 12 reps and I go 12, maybe 12 again, or 11, then you go 10, and then you go 9 and 8 or 7. If I drop before under 8, I stop. If I drop under 8 in the 5th set, that's my last set. If I drop in the 6th set, this is my last set. But now, if the day comes that I do first set and I can do 15, 16 reps, clearly I'm going to start using a little bit heavier weight. So you have to pay attention to that. This is one factor. The next one is time under tension. You have to make sure that you're fully stretching and fully contracting the muscle. That mechanical tension is the key to muscle growth. That has to happen. It's not just to work that set in 10 seconds, as most of the sets are most of the time. People think they're doing long set, but they're not. If you measure your set, you will see very few sets will go over 20 seconds. And perfect time under tension is anywhere from 30 to 70 seconds. So to perform a set of 30 seconds will shock a lot of people, and will really shock a lot of people after they finish that set. There is not going to be much left, not to mention 70 seconds. So you see how much is there. So it's not just number of, I feel good, I want to do more, but wait a little bit. These critical factors have to be taken into consideration. So you have something called passive tension. If that doesn't happen, your mechanical tension is not high enough. Then you have something like a combination of multi-joint and isolating exercises, which is absolutely necessary for many reasons. So all this has to be taken into consideration. Bodybuilding is a very, very intelligent game. You know, you said, if I feel better, should I do more? I mean, look, you're an MD, right? If you prescribe me antibiotics, 500 milligrams, 4 times per day, and I said to you, Dr. Anthony, I feel great. Can I take 1,000 4 days per day, 4 times per day? You will look at me and say, wait a little bit. I've given you a right dose. But I feel fine. But it doesn't matter. So you can't just think because you feel fine that you should do more. You don't need to do more. You need to do better. But more and better are never going to be the same. They're different. Yeah. That better is the crux of the problem, right? Better. So there are a lot of factors there. Time under tension, mechanical tension, rest between the sets, volume, speed, right? Mind-muscle connection. People say to me, oh, what is mind-muscle connection? I don't know about your mind and your connection. I know about mine. You need to feel the muscle. Did you feel the muscle? And then they say, I think I felt it. No, you didn't. You can't think about feeling. Thinking and feelings are two different things. They don't work together. You know, when you burn yourself on the fire, you don't go, oh, I think I burned myself. No, you just jump like that and you say, oh. So if you didn't feel that muscle, you're not doing it properly. You're doing too much weight, too fast. You're not going slowly down. And you're just moving that mechanically. Maybe that has happened to you. This is why you can do so many sets, plus rest between the sets. You can do whatever you want. I mean, it's great. It can be a great fun. But we're talking business here, aren't we?
Yeah,
So if
exactly.
you
Well,
want to grow muscle,
yeah.
I'm giving you principles from which you will definitely benefit
Hmm.
because they are fundamental principles of muscle growth, proven from 1960s to now in the real biggest experiment ever did in the real practice in real world.
Yeah.
They all did it and it works.
Yeah. I'm really interested to try all these sorts of things as well because yeah, it's exciting for me. So how do you tell? How do you tell when you're done with your set then? What is that point? Because obviously it's easy to tell someone, okay, well, you go to failure, we know where that is. You just get to a point you can't move the weight anymore. So where do you go instead? How do you know when to stop? How do you know when your set's done?
Well, again, it's very difficult to say that because there are some attempts I come across. People are saying, oh, you go all out, you measure your weight, you measure your number of sets, the reps, and then you do the equation, you calculate what it will be 3 reps. Just forget about it. It's just ridiculous. So
Yeah.
let's say you do biceps curls, you use whatever, 35 kgs, and you do 10, 11, 12 reps, and you attempt to do the next one, and you cannot do it. That was all out set. Now you have to develop that feeling when you are really going, you felt you've done a lot, you've done enough. And now you know that if I do another rep, that's going to be the last one. I don't have to do it. That will allow you to do more sets doing barbell curls. If you do all out set, I've done it so many times. You do all out set, you do 12, 13 reps, really all out to failure. You rest 30, 40 seconds. The next set, you will probably have about 7, 8 reps. It will be hard to do the third set. So you're going to end up doing 2 sets for biceps curls. You go do machine curls, the same principle. You're going to end up doing another 2. And do hammer curls, the same principle. You're going to end up with 6 sets, and that's it. End of story. And you're going to feel great. And you're going to feel dead, right? And you're going to be exhausted. Now, the thing is, you can also do different type of workouts, maybe not going to failure, but doing 5 sets of biceps curls and 5 sets of squat curls and 5 sets of hammer curls. You're going to end up with 15 sets. But your central nervous system will be fine, but your arms will explode. So not
Mhm.
only from mechanical tension, but also from metabolic stress, because there are different factors that cause muscle growth. The metabolic stress triggers growth hormone. Lactic acid triggers growth hormone, as you know.
Mm.
And it's not going to happen if you do 6 reps. It's going to happen if you do more sets and more reps. And after that high volume workout, you will be producing more growth hormone than if you do just low volume, high intensity workout. So the benefits are simply overwhelming, not to mention your safety of tendons and ligaments.
Mhm.
So you see, just benefit, 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 benefit. So too many pros, hardly any con. When you do it very high intensity, also risk of injuries. Training to failure has made people torn their muscles.
Mm.
Top bodybuilders have torn their muscles. Biceps, triceps, quads, chest, you name it, it has happened. Look, Ronnie Coleman. Can you believe that? He's now the pinnacle of his life, basically, when he's finally making big money,
Mm.
and the man is living in a wheelchair. Why?
Mm.
Was it necessary? But not at all. Not at all. This is so transparent. He didn't have to do it. So basically, the risk of injuries is another big con against going to failure.
Okay.
Big one.
Yeah, that makes sense. And okay, so basically you get the feeling, yeah, and you know, having lived it for a long time, I know that feeling. I know when I get to the point where I'm pushing one out and was like, I could squeeze out one more, and you know, so I squeeze that up. And if I'm not working with a spotter, then I have to know my limit because obviously I don't want to drop the weight on my neck. And so okay, so I go up and okay, that's my last one. I can squeeze that out, and I know I can't do another one because I will fail on that one. Is that failure, or would the next set be failure? Should I stop one before that? What do you think?
You definitely have to stop before that because when you
Before
do
that.
that last one, especially with that force reps, which are very popular, you
Hmm.
have to understand that every force rep is actually a junk volume. and not just jump volume, but extremely risky repetition. First of all, when your partner moves that weight, you didn't lift that weight.
Yeah.
Half of that weight is lifted by him. Second, your form is never going to be as good as in the good quality previous reps. Third, your risk of injury will increase dramatically. Proven everywhere. I've seen so many accidents. You know, over dozens of times in the last few years, we had to call ambulance to come to the gym and take people away because, you know, when the biceps tendon explodes, it is literally, you can hear it. And then the next thing you see, the man collapses on the floor, gets in shock. His biceps just get black in no time. And then you see him in a few days in the cast and, you know, why? What is this all about? No, because he's doing extra rep. Why? Why would you do extra rep? Arnold never did extra rep. Serge Nubre never did. I've watched him so many times. He never did. It was just perfect form, slowly up and down, never talking to anybody between sets. He would say, guys, we always few of us sitting there staring at him, watching him. He said, if you want to ask something, you ask after I finish. During my training session, I don't want to, no questions, nothing. He would just sit and look. No phones, no distraction, nothing like that. So it's not necessary. The best in the world have done it without it. What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to prove by going another rep? I see them in the gym every day, guys who don't even have muscles, attempt to lift weights, catastrophic form, force reps, this reps. Where are the muscles? Where? Non-existing. So you don't have to do it. It's silly, it's really completely unreasonable. And I did a whole video on that. So you don't have to do it.
Okay.
No, your muscle doesn't need, because if you don't do it, you will do more sets. You're gonna have more quality reps. To do 5, 6 sets. When I do leg press, let's say first exercise is my leg routine, I will do 7, 8 sets, sometimes up to 10 sets. So imagine, if I drop below 12, I'm done. I go up to 30 in the beginning. So imagine how many reps I do in 10 sets. After 10 sets, my legs are double in size. I feel good. I'm not drained. I'm not dead. My legs will be very tired, but my central nervous system will be very happy.
Yeah. Okay. So getting to that point before you would need a spotter to help you. What about that last step? So if I were working without a spotter and I got to that point where I said like, okay, I can do one more and I have one more in me and I push that out and I'm able to get it up, no help. Obviously not trying past that. Is that what I'm aiming for or not even that far?
Not even that far. No, you should be anywhere 1 to 3 reps short of the failure.
Oh,
You're
okay.
fine.
All right. Right. Okay.
Because you will compensate with extra set or sets.
Right.
You understand? And the number of quality reps, which is between 4 and 6, will multiply exponentially as you go higher number of sets. This is why whenever people increase number of sets, drop the weight, they come after a couple of weeks and says, oh my God, Nash, look at my arms. Oh, really? What happened? Well, I started doing more sets, as you said. The weights dropped. So who cares about the weights? You think if Michelangelo had a bigger chisel and a hammer, he would do better, David? No, it doesn't work like that. These are your tools. It's how you use your tools. Oh, light and heavy. So the world is now split between I can bench 4 plates or I can only bench 1. Really? Who cares? Let me see the final product. Let me see the David. David is the key. Moses as well. See, Michelangelo did it with certain tools. If they were bigger, there won't be better statues, right? So we need to distinguish the difference between means and ends. But for some reason, in a bodybuilding world, lifting has still remained to be the divine possibility and achievement. Lifting, but bodybuilding is more about lowering. Weightlifting and power lifting in the name it says is lifting, but in bodybuilding, it's
Hmm.
more about lowering
Hmm.
because of that passive tension. This is very important. Mechanical tension is the key to muscle growth. Your muscle will never grow. Now, during concentric contraction, this is called active tension. When you're lowering during eccentric, you have passive tension. Now, guess which tension contributes more to muscle growth?
Yeah.
Passive tension contributes, yeah,
Mm.
between 60 and 70% to muscle growth, while active tension contributes 30 to 40%. So
Mhm.
here we go now. The choice is
Mhm.
out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. I guess that,
Listen.
yeah, I guess that's the thing too. And of course we're talking specifically about hypertrophy. And that makes perfect sense. And that's something that you hear a lot is that you focus on the eccentric, the passive sort of, and even sometimes when people are building up to doing pull-ups, when you're just starting out, maybe you're doing some lat pull downs and things like that. Now you're trying to do pull-ups and maybe you can't even pull yourself up, but you can control your weight going down. And then you can sort of build some muscles. That way you build your strength and then eventually you can get strong enough to pull yourself up. I always sort of, I think it's sort of in my nature as like a competitive athlete, rugby player that, it's something about there's just killing that last stretch, just doing everything you can. And it's sort of have that mentality of when I'm on the field and I'm pushing myself and I'm in pain. I just want to stop. It's just torture, but I was like, I'm going to kill it going. It's just like, I'm not going to I may die, but I'm taking this guy with me. And there's like that sort of mentality of sort of taking that into weight training. And that's something I'm going to have to probably retrain and get that out of my head. And because again, it's what are your goals? Are you just trying to just this aggression out, or are you trying to build a good physique?
Good that you said that I'm going to die or I'm going to take this guy out. So in
Yeah,
bodybuilding, if you do that crazy all out set, you can
yeah,
say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to take my tendon out.
yeah, 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 yeah. There's that. Yeah,
As they did it so many times.
yeah.
This is not necessary. It's when you understand that to stimulate growth, you don't need to go to failure, everything changes. The life
Mm.
becomes happier place because you stimulate, you don't obliterate. That muscle didn't do anything wrong to you. You don't need to beat the hell out of it.
Yeah.
You need to give him a good training session, not like
Mm.
what Dorian promotes to, kill the muscle. He literally did kill them, few of them.
Mm.
So, I will take this guy out, but I'll take my tendon out as well. So I'll do this set, but then, which is sad, he could have been around for longer. He will be much better shape now and health
Mm.
and everything because this is serious injuries. You know
Yeah.
how big those injuries are. This is
Yeah.
this is disability, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Um,
Antonio.
yeah. I was going to say too. As a caveat to athletes out there, I've worked with some athletes. There, it's such a great thing that you brought up the eccentric versus concentric part of the lift. Where you're contracting the muscle or you're sort of passively extending, lengthening the muscle. You get more hypertrophy when you're lengthening that muscle under tension, quite a lot more. And for most people, yes, that's fine. You're sort of building up your muscle base. For younger people and athletes, you need to build up that muscle base. But then sometimes for like things like sprinters, or you're trying to work on your speed, if you build up a lot of that muscle, then there's this strength to weight ratio as well. And that can actually slow you down on the field. So there's this idea of, especially I mentioned the hex bar deadlift. That was something that was a top trainer for the NFL. Basically, all the top prospects going into the NFL combine, he would train them for about 8 weeks, and he would get these guys faster. You drop like half a second off their 40 time. And he said they have a lot of plyometric work and all these different sorts of things, but really like 95% of it was using the hex bar deadlift on just the concentric, and then you drop it. And then you just lift and drop and lift and drop. And that built up strength, but not bulk. And so it kept their weight down, but their strength up. And so that strength to weight ratio increased, and they would get faster. And so if you understand the physiology, if you understand how the body works and the muscle systems work and how you can get the end result that you want, there's so much there that you can do as an athlete if you're trying to build hypertrophy, if you're trying to build a structured, picturesque physique. Then this is the way. There's the way to do that. If you want to have more changes in sort of specific athletic competition, there are different ways of training for that as well. But it's understanding the principles, like you said, understanding how the body works, how the physiology works, and then you can not necessarily manipulate, but you can modify workouts to fit exactly what your end goal is. And I think that's really important, is understanding how your body works so that you can get out of it what you want.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the reason why that passive tension is so important is that during concentric contraction, you use muscle filaments, actin and myosin. So these are contractive filaments. They contract the muscle, but the biggest proteins in the body are actually titans. Titans are only stimulated when the muscle is fully stretched under resistance. And this is why the eccentric or contraction or passive tension actually contribute to more hypertrophy than just contracting it without triggering the growth of titans. So it's very simple once you understand these things. It's not complicated. It's just to apply in the practice. And funny enough, the best methods that I have mentioned and the best fundamentals of intensity are at the same time the safest. So they not just contribute to more muscle growth, they contribute to more safety and also longevity. So you can carry on training for the rest of your life with fantastic results. I have a client who is almost 80 years old and he's one of the best looking guys in the gym. I will send you his pictures to you. You won't believe it. But as I said, it's not just I will take this set and give my tendon out. That's a good phrase,
Yeah, very good.
It's your invention actually. I just build up on it.
Yeah.
No, it's not like that.
Yeah. So okay, let's say you're doing one muscle group a week, short reps or short rest periods, lots of reps, not quite going to failure, doing a lot of sets. How do you split that up over the week? I mean, what sort of muscle groups are you trying to pair chest with triceps because you sort of work similar sort of muscle groups as you're doing a bench press or chest? You tend to use that, or how would you split that up with the smaller muscle groups as well?
Well, there are two training splits that I advocate and I advise people. Is 4-day training split and 5-day training split. So 4-day training split will be for intermediates, let's say advanced but not very advanced, right? And 4-day split is and also for most of the naturals as well. It would be, let's say, doing chest and biceps day 1, legs day 2, then take day off, then you do back, and then after back you do shoulders and triceps, and you take 2 days off. So this would be 4 days per week, 3 days off. And another one, which is something that I do and all my advanced clients are doing, is 5-day training split. So day 1 is chest and abs, day 2 is legs, always day off after legs. Then third session is back, 4th session shoulders, 5th session arms, and then day off. So this is how I split muscles, and I find, I mean, that can be also individual. People can do different. I would only advise that you do take day off after legs, because it makes sense, and don't do arms before you do chest or you do back. So this is why I put arms as the last training session of the week on Saturday, and then Sunday I have off, and on Monday I do chest again.
Okay.
People often ask, oh, why don't you put push-pull and all that? Well, push-pull is okay in certain stages, but it's not necessarily the most advanced training system. So most advanced would be, as I mentioned, 5 times per week. Push-pull is not, because you cannot do enough exercises per muscle group. So how I'm going to do 5 movements for chest, 5 for shoulders, and 3 for triceps if I put them together? So it's 13 exercises. If I do 5 sets each, what is that going to end up like 60, 70 sets? It just doesn't make sense. But if you do 3 movements for chest, 2 for shoulders, 2 for triceps, 3 for sets each, then you can patch it up. But it's not going to be optimal, right? For a particular period in your development, it's fine. But as you grow up, as you progress, as you become more advanced, intensity increases, form improves. You will stress yourself more, and you will need more time to rest. Therefore, you need to allow more time, and you will end up doing either 4 or 5 times per week. People confuse triceps involvement with triceps training when it comes to chest. If you do chest properly, you will use your triceps up to the point, but you will never train your triceps. You will never fully stretch and fully contract your triceps. And you should not be using your triceps much at all anyway. Now, people perform bench press by bringing their elbows in, right? And then they're going to use their triceps. But this is not the trajectory of the movement for chest, because chest don't stretch with the humerus down. You need to lift the humerus up. And this is chest, right? So if you bring humerus down, the biomechanics, this movement is shoulder, front shoulder. So as soon as you go inside, more inside you go, that movement that you call bench press is going to be more shoulder press. You understand? And your triceps will work more. So if you do chest properly, if you understand about biomechanics, you have to move your elbows to the side, fully stretch your muscle, and then perform the exercise. Triceps doesn't do much there. Yes, it gets involved up to the point, but it's never fully trained. This is why you have to train triceps fully in the separate day. The same applies to biceps. Oh, I train back, I feel my biceps a lot. No, you're not training. Then you're training your biceps. Under grip, closed, Dorian Yates advice. That's a biceps exercise. Mike Mentzer uses it for biceps. Why would you do biceps exercise? Why would you involve biceps in doing back? Yes, you're Dorian Yates, you're God. Just leave it as it was. Don't try to explain things, because it doesn't work well. If you want to attack that latissimus dorsi muscle, your humerus have to be in different position there. You can't hold the bar under grip. So you need to have wide grip in order to hit latissimus dorsi. This is how your latissimus dorsi muscle fully stretches. Now, close grip, yes, but the grip outside, and also with close grip, it will still stimulate more teres major, teres minor, but not latissimus dorsi. This is why you need to do 2 pulls. So you're not using your biceps. You are engaging it, but you're not training it. This is why you have to train it separately. And this is why, because they're smaller muscles and they've been engaged up to the point, I advise to do less sets. So everything fits perfectly once you understand. But, biomechanics is another big issue. Not many people understand that. People are just doing training ad hoc, looking around and copying like other species in nature, just copy what other people do. And they, I'm going to do the same. But it just doesn't work like that. There are complicated exercises, like lateral raises, for example, the most complicated exercise in bodybuilding. I never saw anybody doing it right. Very few people, seriously, yeah. Because they don't understand what lateral deltoid does. How does that move humerus, and how to avoid turning lateral raises into the front shoulder contraction, etc., etc. There are many other movements, chest, legs, not to mention squatting and more complicated exercises. But basically, this is why the split that I advise is something that applies to most of the people, most of the time, and is not just beneficial, but is also safe and allows enough time for recovery and super compensation.
Right. But you wouldn't do triceps with chest though? You would definitely separate those out, or if you had enough time, biceps with back and things like that as well. You'd want to separate those out, or could you set those up on the same day?
In the 4-day split, you can do that. Yes, you can do chest and triceps. You can do back and biceps, but then shoulders will be on their own. And I would rather put smaller muscle with shoulders, because shoulders are relatively smaller muscle group.
Okay.
So the stress level I would rather have the same stress impact on every session, rather than having a big stress chest and triceps and then small stress on shoulders only. So, but this 4-day split can accommodate that for whatever reasons. If you want to do it, it's not end of the world.
Hmm.
It's just that in that scenario, you will be training shoulders on their own.
Okay. All right. And then, okay. And that's your split that you're doing now, that 5-day split?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Very good.
For decades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, very good. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for that. That's been fascinating. I mean, that's sort of just me getting to pick your brain on things that I wanted to know about, and hopefully that was interesting for people as well. Dr. Jocic, thank you so much for that. I would imagine that you have books on training as well. Where can people find those and everything else you do?
Yes. Thank you very much for having me, first of all. And then, yes, my YouTube channel is also Dr. Nash Jocic, and people can see many different videos on covering all subjects, basically. And ebooks are available, training ebooks, nutritional ebooks, obviously, they're available on my website, which is nashfittraining.com. So whoever is interested may feel free to get to my website and see if there is anything they think it may help them. And I believe there is a lot of things that help them there.
Very good. Well, we'll put the links for all those below, and I encourage people to go and check out your channels. I've definitely learned a lot, and seen things that I sort of had an idea about and heard peripherally about, the different training styles of these golden era bodybuilders. But then, hearing it from the horse's mouth has been fantastic. So thank you so much for that.
You're very welcome, and thank you also for having me.
Not a
All right.
problem. Thank you. All right. Thank you, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that. Please do hit the like and subscribe if you haven't. Leave a comment and share this with anybody who wants to get in the best shape that they can. Thanks a lot, everyone. See you next time. Hey guys, thank you very much for taking the time out to listen to what I had to say. If you like it, then please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and podcast. And if you're on YouTube, then please hit that little bell and subscribe, and that'll let you know anytime I have a new video out, which should be every week, if not more. And if you could share this with your friends, that would help me get the word out and let me know that you like what I'm doing. Thanks again, guys.